No, he's too curious to explode.
Hold on. Say that again. CDO A has parts of CDO B, and CDO B has parts of CDO A, but then they both get put inside CDO C.
In this famous scene from Adam McKay's The Big Short, dealing with corruption, greed, and capitalism, Mark Baum tries to understand the that is a CDO. And boy does he look confused. We all are, Mark. Most Americans don't know what this is. I don't know what the this is. The film explains it earlier in the film, but for time's sake, we'll get back to it. So, back to not knowing what the a CDO is. The scene in McKay's film conveys that capitalism is confusing, and that the film as a whole makes it known that this stuff affects all of our lives a great bit. Let's take Trump's tax code for example. Recently signed, it lowers tax rates for everyone, or at least that's what it's said to do. I found that the code helps big businesses and the wealthy a lot more than the rest of us. I had to search high and low for this information, and it took me some time to fully understand it. It seems that the government is hiding this from the American public, and playing off of the fact that most of us don't know anything about capitalism. This is the underlying message in McKay's film, in addition to showing that their greed is usually at our expense. So, in a capitalist America, and with McKay's work in mind, how can we create more art that simultaneously entertains and educates citizens about capitalism and its issues? Well, first, it's important to understand that there are many definitions and interpretations of capitalism out there, in addition to not knowing anything about it at all. CF wonders what capitalism is in his essay. Quote, is it the large-scale production that grew with the Industrial Revolution? Is it the system of private property? Who the knows? He eventually gives his definition of it, but it's too long for this video. But I will have you know that I have found definitions that are different from his. In Michael Moore's Capitalism, a Love Story, you have people basing their notions of capitalism off of the housing market crash in 2008, the golden era of capitalism in the 50s, I mean, the list goes on. We know that artists can be affected by their experiences and obviously their thoughts, and this can manifest in their work. So it's not uncommon or surprising to find that most art dealing with capitalism only entertains and conveys the notions that the director or the creator has of the topic and its issues. But creating art that both entertains and educates its audience about capitalism can be done, and it has been done. Moore's documentary does both.
Me right now.
How did this collapse happen?
I got home on a Friday. Everything was just fine. I called back after my plane landed in Indiana, and all of a sudden we've got this crisis on our hands.
McKay's The Big Short does this as well, as it literally informs the audience how parts of the system work in an entertaining and easy to swallow way. See, I told you we would get back to this. Through the use of celebrity cameos, analogies, etc., parts of the capitalism can be understood by whoever watches the film. Furthermore, the issues of the topic are explored as well, such as greed and capitalism, which are conveyed through the plot. Main characters find out the housing market's going to crash before it actually does, but they ultimately find out how twisted Wall Street and the government is, as they are the reason for the crash in order to earn more money, and they try to cover all of this up. The satirical drama exposes the blatant corruption and greed within the people who are actually responsible for the 2008 crash. But McKay's film is like a speck among a sea of art that only entertain when dealing with the subject. The Wolf of Wall Street focuses on the excess that is often intertwined with Wall Street culture and the filthy rich. And it doesn't really explain what capitalism is. We just learn that Jordan Belfort does a bunch of illegal at work in order to finance his hedonistic tendencies. We are never given the definition of a CDO like in The Big Short, and the film doesn't explain how the stock market works. Even though this dramedy displays corruption and greed via the actions of the characters, we learn what most of us know, that what Belfort does is wrong, and we are only entertained by the rest of the story. But Scorsese's film follows what has been portrayed in the many films that came before it. Other People's Money conveys a persona that is often in films about capitalism, which is that the people who work on Wall Street are cutthroat, arrogant, money-hungry citizens who think they're above the law. And Philip's essay discusses and supports this stereotype in general. American Psycho takes this persona further by intercutting and creating a comparison between the persona mentioned via Patrick Bateman and his bloodlust and killing spree. However, since both of these films are satirical in nature, it could be argued that they, and The Wolf of Wall Street indirectly, also teach the audience about capitalism, but only its problems. This is only half of what The Big Short and Moore's documentary teaches its audience, so the push for more art similar to the two works still need to be created. But I found that all of the films discussed seem to denounce or mock capitalism, either partly or as a whole. This conveys that most American citizens separate themselves from the topic and its issues. This doesn't make me think the intersection between teaching and entertaining an art is pointless. However, I do think that the intersection is needed in order to check ourselves, in addition to seeing how capitalism affects us. Many Americans seem to forget how influenced we are by capitalism and how ingrained it is in our country.
That's $1.09 in the trash. That's $2 on fire. That's 49 cents of spilt milk dripping all over my table. Somebody gonna drink this milk.
Perhaps the creation of films that entertain and educate its audience on the subject, in addition to the work being unbiased, is what we really need. But who knows for sure? I don't know. If I could completely answer the central question to this essay, then it probably wouldn't have been made, and the many interpretations of capitalism still remain. They didn't just magically go away. But I do know that things similar to Trump's tax code are confusing, and we are left to try to understand how that affects us. We were left in the dark about capitalism and its issues, and to be taken advantage of as The Big Short portrays. And this needs to change.